welcome to The Last Word. We do this every Tuesday where we pick a topic and bring an audience, and we spend time trying to make sense of that topic. This week, we have literally a hot one, and we call it, what do you call this show today? Politics 101. Is it possible to do politics in this country without being tribal? Whatever that means, we will come to that. But I do have the full house here tonight. We do have Patricia Andago, lead researcher at Odipodev, who's joining us with the latest research that they did last week. We have Chege Majus, political commentator. Karibu sana. We do have Mr. Chalagat, project manager and civic tech activist, who's joining us as well. Danvers Makori, Commissioner, National Cohesion and Integration Commission. Karibu sana, good to see you. Last but not least, Hanifa Eden, activist, active citizen. And I always have venerable co-hosts, who also happens to be Gen Z, Zaha Indimuli. And yeah, fellow commentator, interviewer, Eric Latif. My name is James Smart. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the program. We do this every Tuesday. Let's start with the hot button that Zaha, the only lady in the panel, has. What's the hot button this week?
Well, in the name of Tanzania, Uganda, and the Holy Republic of Kenya, once again, we are witnessing the Holy Trinity corridor of state oppression, and the triplets have decided that they are going to be known for the entire historical context for authoritarian rhetoric across the region. But before I set pace, let's listen to our very own senator in our own triplet republic, Mr. Cherargei.
I want to ask President Museveni and President Samia Suluhu Hassan, if you get any busybodies activists who want to destabilize the sovereignty and the peace and tranquility of your country, finya hawa, warudishe nyumbani, tuwamalizie.
Let's take a moment to analyze the finya hao na warudishe huku tufanye nini? Tuwamalizie. And the securitization of activism has been happening across this region. We have seen what the devastation in Tanzania has caused. We have seen what Kenya has just healed from last year, continuing to the fact that there's a massive uproar in securitizing activism across the East African nation, East African region. The regional integration, civic society and solidarity spaces, the shrinking space of civic experience within the region. The promise of the East African community is looking blasphemous. Other than the fact that we've seen multiple abductions, we've just seen the release of Nicholas and Bob Njagi. We've had Agatha and Boniface being abducted earlier on in the year. We're seeing these siblings coming together to say, look, apart from activism causing chaos, as blatantly put by Mr. Cherargei, wherever they are in your country, finger them, then bring them home, and we will finish what you have started. And I don't know what DCI is doing in this case, because they are roaming free, speaking of violence against the very same things that the Constitution fully and fundamentally protects, which is that we are free to speak, free to move, free to associate. And as we continue in the service of what solidarity looks like for Kenyans, South Africa is having an uprising against gender-based violence. So does it mean when us Kenyan women and activists across the space go on to support South Africans that we should be finward in Cape Town and then brought back home to be malizward for? That is my hot button for the day.
It is very hot, and it crosses country. I don't know, I mean, you have a lot of faith that the authorities can take action against the good senator. Well, I wish you well, but there's a fat chance of that happening.
Completely. I mean, everything that you've said is all true. And it just gets to a point where you ask yourself, what exactly do these old politicians think is going on around them?
Exactly.
And at what point will they all realize that things have changed? Or maybe the question is, have they? Maybe they haven't actually. Maybe with us, you know, some people sit in some small cocoon and you see things moving and you think, oh my God, the whole East Africa is changing. Maybe it isn't.
Yeah, it is. Okay, we're not the only ones with hot buttons.
Hot buttons.
Start with Namisa. What has been disturbing you this week?
senator, so good senator, say it's a shame that that is the rhetoric you're going with, considering the very many Kenyans who got caught up in what was happening in Tanzania when they were listening about their business. They were not activists. So they were saying,
I think, Nyamisa, we need to change your mic.
Yeah.
They say that your mic has an issue. Pick this one.
We can guarantee you it's not censorship. Yes, but
try the next one.
yes,
Try that one.
okay, where do I?
that's better.
Do I start off?
So start from the very beginning. What's your name?
I'm Nyamisa Chelagat. I am in the civic tech space. And as I was saying, I started by saying I'm in black because East Africa is mourning. We've lost very many young people to political violence, of course, instigated by the triplets, as Zaha said. And it's such a shame that we have gone back to the tribal political rhetoric, and it is a shame that our leaders are using that to justify their attacks on young people who, most of them, had nothing to do with what was happening in Tanzania. We've had Kenyans who got arrested in Tanzania while going about their business. They were not activists, and there is nothing wrong with being an activist. I think I'll leave it at that for now.
It's very true.
All right. Here, please.
Thank you so much. My name is Chege Majuis. Myself, I'm not amazed or astonished by the words of Cherargei because we are about to see more. We are going to the campaigns. What amazes me is the background and where he's saying those words. Those words should be said somewhere in Embobut Forest, where you are hiding of shame saying such words. But if you look at the background, it is in church. We have a logo of Kenya Assemblies of God Church. Because you can see it, it's in the video. At that podium, you can see even a Bible. And you can see maybe they were reading some word of God. And in my imagination, he was telling those words to believers. People who believe in Jesus Christ, because that is a church, who believe in good governance, who believe in people who have been abducted for saying their rights, and all the rights that the word of God believes in. So, where has been the church? That church, Kenya Assemblies of God, all this time that those incitement has been going around, the church could have stood and said, such nonsense should not be said in churches going forward. It is not left for the mainstream churches alone, the Catholic, AIC and PCA, to be doing the work of making sure that these politicians, they don't have such speeches in their churches. Because if it was the mainstream church, it could have been condemned by the bishops and the council of that church. But even other evangelist churches, they should waige hiyo mfano to make sure such politicians, you don't come to that church, you are being put as a mamoshaino for donating, then from that, you have the license to say whatever you want to say. Cherargei is not new in issuing such divisionary and inciting words to Kenyans. He has been saying it since 2021. And we have not had what he's saying towards 2027. He has been saying there is some people who should not be left wandering here in Rift Valley. And he's referring to certain tribes. But nothing can be taken, no action can be taken against him because he's in the right side. And the right side is the ruling side. Was he in opposition? I'm sure right now the National Commission of Human Rights and something that looks at how people talk, they could have issued a warning against him or even called him.
The good thing is we have someone from the National Cohesion to discuss this.
Yes.
So I'll ask you to hang on so that we set it up correctly, right?
Okay.
So, ladies, gentlemen, many good people back at home. Last week, we had this sort of research that came out from Odipo Dev that sort of shook us and said that, if anything, tribalism has really shot up online. The places that we said we are tribeless, partyless, and everything
leaderless,
less. Yes.
faceless.
But we are tribal, all right? We have a colleague, lead researcher from DepoDev. Patricia, could you just set up to us and tell us what exactly that research said? Is it even shocking that this is happening in the first place?
James, I think it is definitely extremely shocking. Even when we were going into this study, because what we did was we analyzed 6 million posts that had different tribal rhetoric from the beginning of 2024 up until 31st of October. We did not expect that, especially since we started pushing the whole tribeless narrative during the last Gen Z uprising, we did not expect that when we would compare what we were seeing in 2024 and this year, that the tribal rhetoric has actually doubled. So we are seeing an increase by 50% in tribal rhetoric online in a country that we're fighting to become tribeless, to be identified as one Kenyan identity. I think something else that is worth noting in the data that we have to talk about is what seems to be triggering this tribal conversation. Yeah. So what we've noticed is that every time there was a spike, there was a big political event that was happening in at that time. So after the uprising, a spike in tribal conversation. After Gachagua was impeached, a spike. Yeah. After Raila's death, a spike. After Raila Ruto handshake, a spike. So every time there's a major national political, or should I put now in brackets, tribal moment, this conversation goes up. Right. And the people who we are seeing are pushing this are first ordinary people who are having conversations online, but there is also a very organized, coordinated group that uses those moments to push ethnical conversation as rage bait. And we're seeing it every single time. If you look at the posts, if you look at the patterns, you can see a very similar copy, very similar, picture used across, very similar hashtag. So every single time they're very organized in doing it, and they're succeeding. I think something else that is also important to mention is how language plays a part in this. So we're also seeing that when the conversation is said in Swahili or Sheng, the negative sentiments are actually more. Yeah. So for us, when we look at that, that makes us think about how people tend to have political conversations. And it seems that the most authentic way to have these conversations, the way that brings it out, I like giving the example of, think of a joke in your community and then try and convert that joke to English. It doesn't land.
It just doesn't, yeah.
It just doesn't land.
Yeah.
And so to see that when people are really expressing themselves politically, they're talking about tribe in a negative manner, that's also quite concerning. All right. So quite a bit on the data that you can continue to talk as we continue to have this conversation.
Yes, just hand the microphone to Danvas. Just straight from the bat, Danvas, you've been in this for a while now. First, is it shocking that this is happening, that we are reverting to tribal organizations so that as a means and ways on how to get power? Is it shocking that this is happening? But second, most important, not to speak about just the dangers of it, on how we are unable to transition to what we'd like, issue-based politics. We speak about it, but we really never do it.
All right. Thanks, James. Actually, first of all, it's not really shocking for where we come from. For the simple fact, I'm going to give a context here. So I'm going to give a context. So the research started in 2024. So early about 2020, we do a lot of social media monitoring, because that's part of our job. We monitor across all platforms. And we go much deeper, just not research. We extensively, because of the tools that we have, we're able to go much deeper, who's saying what, when, and all that stuff. So just pause just wait for that research just for a minute. Just pause back. I want you to take you to the country the way it has been, even the way it is right now. Forget about politics, national politics. I want to take you to a place like Baringo where there's conflict, whether between, or I can take you to West Pokot and Turkana. If you go there,
that's what I'm asking to put it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. If you go to such places where communities are fighting right now, there's conflict. I mean, that word conflict. The biggest driver for conflict actually, it is social media. I mean, and that started way back. So now it used to be that politicians would go to rallies and really make incendiary statements. So that started migrating from rallies to social media and proxies. Now they started using bloggers. So slowly, and it wasn't too bad. Now when you go to conflict zones, if James, you have to post right now, if you show you the post, especially in local dialect, of what people say about the other ethnic tribe they are in conflict with, it is absolutely horrendous. Yeah. Now these are young people actually, for the most part, because we can tell by their handles. You can tell if you do a profile, you can tell who it is. Because especially with TikTok and Facebook, usually it's younger people using it. Yeah. Now, Fast Track 2022, which you mentioned about when we have issue-based politics. So the first time, about the second time in the history of our country, politics in 2022 wasn't as ethnic and tribal. And we did a lot of monitoring. We monitored 22 radio stations and TV stations from media across. We had about 150 rallies every single day with the presidential candidates across the country, wherever they go. So we know what they were saying, when they were saying it. Even MCA candidates, MP candidates, we know what we were saying. For the most part, it wasn't really ethnic. It was issue-based. There was Kenya Kwanza and there's Azimio. And everybody had an agenda. Now, we now come back to this side of history where the research covers. You see, in as much as the movement in 2024, especially for the young people, was tribeless, because they were against something. Yeah, so they were refusing to be divided along ethnic lines, right? Yeah. So there was something there was a rallying call that were against. So because they were against something, they said, you will not divide us against something, so we are tribeless. Excellent, and we love that. We applauded that. I think that was one of the apex place in our country. Now that there is nothing that is unifying them, then they are against. What the politicians have done, they've been very successful for the past 2 years. The seeds of ethnic mobilization and ethnic politics has been planted, and they're being watered. So now, constantly, if you monitor, because we spend a lot of time on social media, if you monitor social media and traditional media, what is the rhetoric? What is ethnic? What is mobilization right now? It is always, not always, for the most part, along ethnic lines. If you look at the mobilization that has been going on so far, the major political movements, you will not. It is hard to hear what are the issues. It is us versus them. It is this group against people, mostly along ethnic lines. Yeah. Now those seeds have been planted among young people, right? And daily, when you hear that, James, when you consume that daily, every day, it will have an effect on you. Yeah. So the chickens are coming home. Yeah, the chickens are coming home to roost. This is exactly what we planted, and the movement it's coming. Yeah. So for us, it's really not shocking. Yeah.
Okay. Let me get to this side too. Let me say this. Early this year, you did your posts and you spoke about your personal reflection and what has happened to you in 2007 post-election violence, and then things just went bust. Talk to us.
So, first of all, let's all thank God that I don't have a court case over the things I said last year in December, but I think it was a necessary conversation to have, and I think it's a conversation that we need to continue having. For those who aren't aware, I started the conversation on post-election violence and basically explaining the details of what happened and how it relates to the current nature of our politics and all that. So I think when it comes to this conversation on like the tribal rhetoric, the first thing I'd say is we have to first separate our tribal identities, our identities as people, as our ethnic identities, from the toxic ethnic political rhetoric that is pushed by politicians. Because as human beings, we all have to identify with something. Yeah, so we can't say we are getting rid of tribes, but at the same time, we have to have something in common that we identify with. And agreeing to what you just said, I think the thing that held us together last year was the fact that we had one common goal, yeah? And I think one of the things that I really liked about the movement from last year is the rallying call around what we wanted, which was we the people, right? Which takes us back to our constitution. Because that, I believe that our constitution, as much as we may have a few issues with it here and there, or we may have issues with it, that's ours, that's like our Bible. That's our rules and regulations. If there's a way we can go back to that and rally around that instead of rallying around our political, what do I call them? I'm trying not to use a bad word, but we have fixated so much on identity politics that we have forgotten that we're supposed to be looking at our issues as a country, which is the economic issues, healthcare issues, discrimination, all these things that if we go back to our constitution, if you look at Article 10 and Article 27 of the Constitution, it covers most of the issues that we are trying to address. What should a leader be like when it comes to integrity, when it comes to, corruption? What kind of a leader should we be looking at? So I think ideologically, as Kenyans, we need to start looking at our constitution as more than just a document, but rather as a mirror of what we want to be as a society, right? That way, we have something that is common to us that we, the people, can decide. Do we want to change these rules and regulations? Yes. Do we want to add something to it? Yes or no? That brings about the conversation of public participation. We need to make sure that our leadership respects the constitution and respects our voices as the people.
We have to make them do that, unfortunately.
Yes, I don't know how. I think Zaha,
one of those things. Yes, it's a conversation to have. Yes. I'll just pass the microphone to Hanifa. And Hanifa, every time you've posted, you've been reminded online that you're Somali, Ngamia, and you need to disappear.
And sometimes I ask, is she really?
Yes. Oh, yeah. All right? Please. Talk to us around that, the personal experience of what happens online, and people are using the identity to other you and say, you actually even don't belong. You should be in Somali.
So I'll start. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
My name is Hanifa. I'm an active citizen, a very loud woman. I'll begin by saying that we need to first understand the Kenyan politics and how it works. You see, the Kenyan politics, I saw this interesting comment online earlier today. It was saying that the Kenyan politics is devoid of ideological alignment. Politics is about alignment. So when we don't have ideology in our politics, it defaults to tribalism. And that is why we find it so hard to get out of this. You'd find that people who we were running together on the streets last year are now telling me to go back to Somalia. Bro, I was raised in Kenya, I'm Kenyan, you see. So it's still in us, I would say. The internet is a very interesting place. I wrote a piece on the research that came out by Odipo Dev and Tribeless Youth. And I talked about how Kenya is being, retribalized online, live on our screens. We are seeing it. And my lived experience online, being profiled, being told to go back to Somalia because I shared, because I'm commenting on something. I don't know, every time they want to put me in a box, they want to put me in a place. As a woman, I would say, a Muslim woman and a Cushitic woman, they would tell me to go back to Somalia. The identity politics, again, we keep falling into that because we do not have politics based on ideologies. We keep going over the same things. I genuinely don't believe that there can be Kenyan politics without tribalism. But what we can do is reduce its influence.
Okay.
We can try. Sorry, you're saying something?
No. Just finish your.
Oh yeah, you're telling me my time is over. Yes, but I think we can reduce its influence. So I'm genuinely hoping and praying that whatever it is we felt last year, we have tested what it is to be united as Kenyan youths. Yeah. We have tested what it is to be tribeless. So I hope we hold on to that. And I'm not going back to Somalia.
That's a very good point. So just one social experiment then, lift up. Hands up if you've ever been employed. You have a board, right? The green is yes, red is no. All right, for everyone you have a board, just put it up. Just put it up and for what to see. Everyone has a board? Okay. Put up your board, raise it high. If you have ever been employed, gotten favor because of your tribe, be honest. Green is yes, red is no. You cannot not vote. You have to vote. Just put it up. Okay, so if you have received a favor and you have received employment or anything, just put it up, put it up. We want to see, we want to get the general in the room, yeah? All right, so most people have not received favors or employment because they were whatever they were.
We're being honest, right? You know, and I like what Hanifa is saying, that moving away from this very tribal thinking politically is going to take a long time.
Of course.
And it has to be very deliberate in very many ways. And I also like what Nyambisa is saying. I mean, we have an identity, and the identity starts from that. Identity starts from who you are as a person. And who you are as a person starts with from your nucleus family into the larger community and goes into your clan, into your tribe, into then your nationality. So the thing is, we all have that basic identity of tribe, okay? And it's clear. Just listening to someone's name in Kenya, you can tell who you are happy. And that's why some people, when they don't have a very obvious name, they'll ask, na hiyo jina ni ya wapi?
Latif ni wapi kwanza? Ask this question. It's a fundamental question.
It's a fundamental one. The thing is that, do we have a national identity beyond a tribal identity?
Yeah.
And I'm sure NCIC have asked themselves that question. Maybe at some point Danvers is going to come and tell us, do we have a national identity beyond this? I think outside of politics, there's what we don't have as a concrete, maybe national identity, but we are not tribal until politics comes in, and now we go back into the tribe.
Yeah.
When we are watching a Kalenjin man winning a race, it doesn't matter that he's Kalenjin, he's Kenyan. You watch a Kamba man winning a race, he's Kenyan. You watch a team that has Luos and Luyas and Kambas and Kikuyu and Kalenjin, and they are winning a match, they're Kenyan. We don't have an issue with that until we now start having a conversation around an election and power and political power. So it's politics that then brings us into that issue, which is a big one. And I know Danvers put it somewhere. That's a question that you'll answer, whether as a National Cohesion and Integration Commission, you've actually sought to understand whether Kenya has an identity that defines us as a nation, that national identity, and how can we rally towards that? Yeah. Then, now that we are that tribal, because we are, why do we think about tribe when it comes to politics? And looking back into maybe how our systems are structured, we can blame the colonialists for setting up the system, or however far we want to go, but the reality of it is that over the last 60, how many years now? 2, 3? Of Kenya as an independent country, we have had a reward system of politics, where the person who has power then rewards the people who have helped them to get to power, and the people who will have helped this person to get to power will most likely be from their tribe, from their clan, from their community. So it's a reward system that we have, and this reward system then goes into, now because it's a reward system, your people are the ones who are going to be in power, and then the others have got to organize and mobilize so that they can come and remove you so that they can eat. So it's our turn to eat kind of game has gotten us where we are. And to get out of that, we have to think of how we can structure our civil service, I think. And I'll come back and talk about I think if we depoliticize our public service, I think that's an entry for me, and it's a long one, but it's an entry for me. I'll come back on that.
I think, again, I speak as a Gen Z. I've not been here long enough.
It's been 6 months. You've been in this show for 6 months. This is a long time.
So, I feel like another pinpoint where I see tribalism getting its masks on is how so badly we individualize these political seats, and how leadership in Kenya has been characterized into a person rather than the qualities of the person we require to have in the seat. And so therefore we have normalized a population to believe that this particular person is the one who should be president next. And so our ideologies are structured into putting this person in power, completely putting into facade what the characteristics and the values of that person are. And so we have a population that believes mtu wetu is a better representation than a good leader, which becomes very problematic. And as I was thinking about how polarizing it is, that the art of politics in Kenya, again, like you said, like what you said, which is like a state of rewarding, I think also it does not only reward the people who help you in politics, but it also rewards your tribe. Most politicians, or rather just the state of how the art of politics is done in the country, centralizes the political divide into developments too. It's like most politicians that get into power will intensively favor their regions on development and fully sideline others. And so therefore, by the time we're having another cycle, we're having the opposite, where our region doesn't have development, we must put our person, so that there's like an identity to go back and create from home. And when I was diving deep into this discussion, I tend to wonder, we usually say a child is raised by a village, and a village is an experience depending on where you are. When the village is not in your courtyard, you know, it's not in Murima, it's not in whatever, right? What happens to that identity of Kenyans when I've been raised by different people in the same place? I mean, the aspect of education has brought children from everywhere. We have studied in universities where all of us are inside the university, from Luo Nyanza, from Kikuyu land, from all these things. So what then begins to mark this upset of people in my tribe should be in power because I don't feel represented? And I think another thing you've said that struck my mind is there an identity for Kenyans really other than Masai Shukas? Because when you think about Kenya entirely, I think the only thing that for us as young people is connecting us really is the identification with the uprising last year. Us, we can easily find something to connect to, because you can say we had a Gen Z protest that defied classism. And also I think tribalism is also a cover up for classism as well, because you cannot be tribalistic if you do not, again, speak to the monetary value that your tribe also engages in. So it's such a layer. And I think us young people are being exhausted to carry a burden of generational traumas when it comes to tribal lines and accolades towards who deserves to be in power, yet the only thing we're basically wanting is leadership that speaks to us and our experience.
All right. So just about to take a short break, but I mean, I'll chance something. I think Kenyans as a whole, Kenyans as voters, are really the least qualified voters in Africa. For this reason, because it's easy to bait Kenyans.
Yeah.
All right? The easiest politicians in the continent live here. For a very good reason that this is a very big village that is easy to bait you into rage and easy to bait you into voting the worst of us.
That's true.
And we have then to take an opportunity to start educating ourselves. Why is that? And then there's the question of poverty and the question of lack of a national identity.
Yeah.
So we have, in the last maybe 30 years, removed the idea of Kenya as a construct that is able to be competitive even in East Africa, because we want our village elder to be the president of the republic. So we are willing to bring down this whole country so that our village chief can be president. If he's not president, then down with the country. That really is not a very qualified voter.
Yeah.
I will chance that, but I'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll have everyone else. All right, you're watching The Last Word. Don't go too far.
Welcome back. You're watching The Last Word. right here on NTV with me, Eric Latif, Zaha Indimuli, James Smart, and we have an audience with us tonight. Our question is, can Kenya achieve politics that is free of tribalism? So actually, let's take it to the audience, and we have the boards. So green is for yes, and red is for no. So raise your board. Can Kenya achieve politics that's free of tribalism? How do you vote?
You can be honest.
There are very many positives and very many negatives. Many positives, many negatives. So there's those that actually feel that Kenya can achieve politics that's free of tribalism. Let's start with the Greens. Somebody who said yes. You've got the mic. Tell us your name and why you think so.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm Moses Ayecho of Mazingira Green Hub Organization. I believe Kenya can do politics that is tribeless. Professor Nyong'o once did a thesis dubbed The Sense of Wrong According to Joluo. He found out that what Luos perceived to be wrong might not be the case among the Agikuyu and the Kalenjins and any other tribe. So the first solution is to eradicate misunderstanding. Why are Luos doing things the way they are doing? Why are Kikuyus doing the things the way they are doing? Why are the Kalenjins and then all other tribes? And you realize, for example, Luos have been labeled as proud. Yes, they are proud. But is it a vice to be proud, or is it right to be proud? Personally, I'm proud to be one. So once we deal with the problem of a misunderstanding, then we can judge a person not based on where they are from, but on the content of their character and on who they are. You see, there's who you are and how I see you. So how I see you might be wrong, but you could be actually good. There's a reason why you act the way you act. It could be genetics, it could be any other factors. But to answer your question directly, I think if you are sick today, if you have malaria, and you go to a hospital, you will not choose a doctor who treats you based on tribe, but you'll choose a doctor who is competent, who knows how to diagnose the tumor and come up with an amicable solution. So where the rain started beating us when the past presidents we've had have been distributing positions. I'll give an example with the current one, though not that I'm criticizing them negatively. The moment William Ruto took power, people felt that the Kalenjin community were favored, especially in the energy docket, that if you could just say Yamune, that is a qualification for you to be higher. Yeah, these are not my words, but they are things we felt.
It's a perception.
Yes.
Perception.
Yep.
So that is where the issue is.
So you say that you think we can actually change from that?
Change that.
How?
Appoint people, make appointments that reflect the face of Kenya, regardless of who voted for you or not. So that if I'm maybe from Ukambani and I don't feel like our community is being segregated. And again, we also need to run away from cultism, politics built around cultism.
Thank you.
But I believe it is fast coming to an end. By 2027, we'll not really rally around an individual because he's our tribesmate. We needed to do an issue-based politics.
Thank you. In the interest of time, let's hear somebody else who said yes. Gentleman at the back, so you can pass the mic on to the back. You say you think that Kenya can actually achieve politics that's tribeless.
Yes. So thank you. My name is Clinton Okello. I come from Suba North. So I think if our counterpart, our neighbors Tanzania, managed to do it through Mwalimu Julius Nyerere, who are we Kenyans not to do it? And I think in order to reduce the impact of tribal politics and hatred, we need to do away with this thing called kingpin, that we must have a political figure who makes a decision on behalf of an entire community. This same person has the power to instigate
is community, hatred of another community. So as Gen Z, as youth, it's high time for us to think on ourselves. We shouldn't depend on someone to think on our own, because simply it comes from our own tribe. Thank you.
Asante sana. How do the ladies vote? We have a few ladies in there. Okay, so who said no, you don't think that we can achieve that? Let's start with the lady at the far left. Can have the mic, tell us your name and why you think we are a gone case.
My name is Diana Ndulu. I believe that ethnicity in Kenya cannot end, but what can end, it is toxic ethnicity. It is setting our differences and our culture apart. It is time to celebrate our people, but letting the bad deeds to be not part of them. Yes.
So, Diana, you voted that you don't think Kenya can achieve politics that's free of tribalism.
It is, I said, we must celebrate them.
Okay.
But not letting them to overcome the people.
Okay, I get you. Another no?
I'm Rotich David from Baringo County, Ewalel Chapchap. My LLB dissertation was premised around the idea of personalizing political parties in Kenya. The problem with the issue with tribalism in Kenya is majorly centered around so much power that is given to the presidency, to the extent that the presidency can control what happens in other arms of government. It's so hard for you to, or for Kenyans, to distinguish whether I'm appointing a fellow Kalenjin to be a minister of sports because he is a sportsman or because he is my tribesman.
Yep.
But if the power to make such appointments is limited, or if such power is delegated to other arms beyond me, then the possibility of me choosing within my clansmen or choosing within my classmates or choosing within my peers whom might actually be very competent and qualified, only that I do not know anyone else who can undertake the job beyond other people. So my pessimism stems from the idea that politics in Kenya are centered around political parties that are personal, political parties that are built around individuals, and political parties that make people greater than institutions. The issue of tribalism in Kenya has very strong roots. The roots stem all the way from independence. In the situation that the stereotypes that each and every tribe have avenues that can be that can be exaggerated. These stereotypes can be exaggerated. I mean, when the people from central Kenya might say currently that President Ruto is wrong on this and this, a Kalenjin will say, you people were silent in 2008 when Kibaki was the president. You were also silent when Uhuru Kenyatta was the president. It's only that you don't want anyone else from another tribe to lead simply because you have had 3 presidencies. That's why you are complaining at this particular point.
But so, is it all Kalenjins or many Kalenjins would think that? Or is it the politicians, the Kalenjin politicians who would speak it?
Actually, politicians give the populace what they want. The politicians will never think on their own. If politicians know, if I say this particular statement, people will clap for me, and there's a possibility of them voting for me further. Like, for instance, majority of the people in central Kenya vote against someone else. They rarely vote for a particular individual, especially.
It's the whole of Kenya.
Yes.
We vote out.
So they vote for someone else. So politicians give us whatever they want. Cherargei knows there's a possibility that his fellow tribesmen will give him another term. So he is telling them exactly what he wants the people to hear. Kenyans love being tribal. They only have a problem when another tribe seems to be benefiting and not them. Everyone else is tribal insofar as it's not them.
So individuals are tribal?
Yes.
It's not just the politicians?
It's not politicians. Politicians give us whatever we want. They do not drop from heaven. We are the ones who are voting them.
Interesting.
Such a dose of truth.
Sindio?
Dose of truth. Absolutely. Okay, pass the microphone to the back. Yeah. Yes, we want to hear more voices. Yep. So the more people speak, the more we can come back to our panel. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Please stand.
Okay, thank you. My name is Christian Juma. I'm a leader in nursing profession. And I want to say that Kenya, we can't do a tribeless politics. One, I think identity is a social anchor and not a decoration. Personally standing here, I'm a Luo from Siaya. You see, I'm a very proud one. Yeah. You see, I want to give just a very simple example to one of ours who is saying that Kenya can do a non-tribeless politics. If you want to vie for an MCA, for example, and you go back home, will you go and campaign in English or will you go and campaign in your local language? Personally, I'll go and campaign in Luo. Why? Because communities who are being identified through language, history, and a shared struggle. So I think ethnicity is not a problem. The problem is when the ethnicity is weaponized. I think we have very mature democracies outside here in Canada and Switzerland, where these things are being managed through fairness, strong institutions, and respect. We can't do away with ethnicity. We just respect it, and we use strong institutions to manage it. Thank you.
Pass the mic to the person next to you.
Thank you. My name is Omolo Fidel. I'm a Luo.
Yeah. Is the room tribal?
I don't think the room is. So okay. I'm here to say that tribal can do politics that is not tribal. Because from my point of view, I think our major problems are the systems and institutions that we have. We have a lot of mistrust, and our institutions are not so strong to do away with the mistrust, such that we are made to believe that if someone who I don't know or if someone who is not my tribesman is in there, my interest will not be secured. So if we had stronger systems, for example, if, for example, I were to be president, I'd say if someone in the judiciary is not my tribesman, they'll not really take care of what I want taken care of. The same for military, the same for finance and all that kind of thing. So if we had strong institutions that can, and strong systems that people trust in, I think we can do away with the whole ethnicity, negative ethnicity that is, because ethnicity is a good thing. It only gets to be bad if it's weaponized and it's toxic. Thank you.
You know, what he has just said, in the 90s, in the clamor for a new constitution, that's exactly what was being said. You know, if we have institutions that are strong and they work, and we institutionalize our governance, we will deal with this whole problem of a powerful presidency and tribalism and so on and so forth. We have a constitution that creates institutions that are meant to be independent, like NCIC is meant to be independent. The National Police Service Commission is meant to be independent. The IEBC is meant to be independent.
Judiciary.
The judiciary, the parliament, the legislature, they're meant to be independent. You know, institutions that work, and they're providing checks and balances on each other, right? But yet here we are, 15 years of our constitution, and we are still saying, if we had strong institutions.
I do have them. I think the problem is this, that we created a constitution out of fear that there's someone who will walk into office and will have all these powers to determine and exclude us and bring their village mates. And then we created other institutions to check those powers. And because we couldn't trust the people who took that institution that will check these ones, we created institutions to check those guys. And then we ended up with this cascade over stairs that does not make sense. This constitution cannot run even in the United States of America. It is incredibly institutionalized. An institution is not a building. It's not random people. It is the architecture of Kenyans as a whole is not well defined. So we get into a problem where we are unable to live and negotiate as Kenyans because we created something as out of fear. That whole document is a document that is based out of fear.
And mistrust.
Yes.
It's so interesting. We're a United Nations of emergency committees for everything. But I feel like I want to think through this in a more broad perspective. We have had instances where the tribalist agenda has actually worked. I mean, we had high cousins, we had, we are all Kikuyus. I feel like if we as much as there's consensus that, you know, our tribes and ethnicities are the epitome of all the madness we are seeing, there is a counter-effectiveness that is happening within our population. I'll speak for Gen Z. Again, our parents and other generations, I really don't know what's happening. But I think for people in the Gen Z space, or those of us who identify as Gen Zs, there's been a reality of using the same rhetoric against politicians. So when they say these Kikuyus have done this, then it's like all of us then are Kikuyus, kill us all, right? And maybe to some extent that could actually work, just emphasizing that we are all one, like under this one flag. The only thing that represents us is the essence of being Kenyans.
Let me ask, do Gen Zs actually believe that they are tribalists?
Yeah. I feel like it depends.
Let's go.
Let's go ahead.
Okay, numbers just give us an example here of the research that they did. And the people who are funding this animosity,
it's not the 70-year-old.
It is a Gen Z.
But who are they having these conversations on tribes with? It's our parents back at home.
No.
Yes.
Among themselves.
Okay, help
Let's
us.
go ahead, let me hear, because me, the Gen Zs I speak to.
Fairly quickly, help us.
Different. Yeah,
Let's start and then give it to Patricia.
Right.
Yeah.
You see, I think we started having real conversations here. Let me just break it to you. Let me just break it to you honestly. And as at least it's been said, politicians say what people want to hear. Well, it's opposite for us, for technocrats. Say it as it is. Based on what we see and experience every day, this is just data. I mean, millions, and actually it's metadata, of conversations and narratives, not just on social media, but also on the ground. This is called ground killer Siku. I can tell you for free, and I'm not criticizing in a bad way. Kenyans, including Gen Zs, are intrinsically ethnic and tribal in terms of identity. Yeah, it is just how the way it is. Good or bad, that's how it is. Once you accept that, it's a first step to solve the problem. Yeah. Now, are there been instances we've not been ethnic? Absolutely, and I've stated it. 2022, our election and politics were not ethnic, nor tribal. We're issue-based for the most part. Everybody was shocked, and we had a very peaceful election for the first time. Why? Because it was issue-based. 2024. The young people rallied against the finance bill, and we were tribal. It worked for them. But you see, we only do it when it works for us. But for generally speaking, we are intrinsically ethnic and tribal. We need to accept that. Now, let me give you an example. Even here in this program, when people stood and identified themselves, what is the first thing they said? They didn't say they're Kenyans. What did they say?
The ones who said this.
No, the ones who said, they said, I am. You see, I am is a very powerful word. It's an identity word. They could have said, I am, you see, I am. So these are mostly young people, all young people here. Yeah, and they say that I am this ethnic group, this ethnic group. Of course, we're talking about ethnicity, but I'm just telling you how it is on the ground. On the ground, you interact with people, even young people. I interact with young people a lot of times. When you go to clubs, hangouts, anything. You go to a genuine, just go to any joint, try to talk to people. The first thing that cool is that, what's your name? You say Danvers. What's your other name? Yeah. So that they can, as Hanifa said, so that they can box you, they can identify you. So believe me, this is who we are now. What is funny, and I'm going to give you context in Africa, because we always blame colonialism and all. I have had the privilege of being an observer for elections across many countries in Africa. Give an example of Zambia. Zambia has more ethnic groups than Kenya, colonized by the British just like we were, okay? But I can guarantee you that I was there during the elections. There is absolutely zero hint of ethnic tribalism politics. It was HH versus Lungu and whoever won. Based on the voting for it was a party issue. Yeah. So in places in Africa, I can tell you for free, it has worked. Kenya is very unique. When you travel across Africa, from West Africa to Central Africa to South Africa, when you travel, for those who have traveled and understand how politics is engaged and done, you realize this is a very unique, in Bob Kolimo's words, we are.
It's Michael Joseph.
I have a question.
Yeah. So it is important that we accept that to begin with, because I know Eric, you say that we are only tribal when it comes to politics. No. In reality, this is who we are, and that is why for politicians they actually exploit, and for them they're comfortable to say what they say because it appeals to who we are as a people. If it didn't appeal to us, they would not be saying such things what you're saying.
I have a question to you, sir.
Yes.
And I feel like maybe I'm coming from a point of, again, this devoid wokeness.
Yes.
But I think this acceptance, this full completed acceptance that tribalism is part and parcel of our population is exactly why we're here.
Yes.
And my question is, then doesn't this acceptance continue to engineer tribalism fully amongst, just a question, doesn't it continue to completely engineer tribalism as part and parcel of Kenyans' experience? And then doesn't it then overarch with an identity crisis, which makes it something relevant for Kenyans to appeal to their tribes because there's nothing else?
So actually you've answered the first question, or your last question, because the core is who are we, who are you, who am I? Yeah, who are we? We genuinely don't have an identity, and I know it's easy to say let's have a Kenyan identity, and it's a good thing, but that's limited because let me give you just for 2 seconds of a personal experience. I had a privilege of growing up and spending most of the time outside this country. So when I came back to this reality, I was shocked. I had a culture shock, honestly speaking, of how ethnicity and tribalism is a very big deal, a really, really big deal. Okay. Now, for me, I see myself as a global citizen. Genuinely, that's my identity. I am a human being to begin with, not just a Kenyan. I am a human being just like a Mongolian is, like a Chinese is. We are human. When you start with that, it changes everything, because then you see things radically different. But here, I am my tribe first. Therefore, you are your tribe. So I will see everything through that lens. Everything and anything is always on that lens. It will draw us back to it. So it begins with identity, and how we move forward is because how I believe there is hope is because we have shown glimmers of hope with Gen Z's 2024. We saw that. We saw in 2022 the first election that we had was very peaceful. It was not active, so we can do it if we want to. If when it works for us, we can do it.
All right, Patricia, and then Chege.
Right. I will start by saying that I do partly agree with the colleague here when we say that tribalism has been a default setting for a very long period of time. So when we look at the data, the idea of tribelessness and anything related to being tribeless was literally at the zero curve up until June 2024. The idea of tribeless was not a conversation that was online at all until the June uprising. So this is a very new phenomenon. So I think when we think of the fact that this is I describe it as a hydra. So hydra is a serpent in Greek mythology that when you cut off one head, it grows two other heads. That's tribalism in this country. So when organizations like Tribeless Youth come up and start pushing, we are all Kikuyus, and we see a noticeable, sizable population rallying behind them and saying, truly, we are all Kikuyus, we all want safety, we don't want these people to go into these communities and start killing people, that there is a noticeable desire to not have toxic tribalism in this country. It's just that it's going to be a very, very difficult fight. So there are glimmers of hope. We've seen them. We've seen actually in the curve, when you look at the highest peak of tribal conversation, it was when we were saying we are Kikuyus. So it was at a moment when we were pushing a unified identity. But it just needs very consistent momentum into the long term, and it needs a lot of backing up with a large population collaboratively, because the people fighting the idea of tribeless are very powerful and very coordinated.
Patricia, I have a question for you. Do you think in the same organizing of how there's a big sizable desire of young people saying we would want tribeless politics, that there's also a sizable organized frontier that pushes for tribal politics, aside from politicians, like religious institutions and stuff like that? Because I feel like we have minimized tribes to only politicians being the ones making the sentiments, but organizations and organizing exists where this information and this particular narrative is primarily being centered across populations. Is there a data on it?
There's no data on what particular actors, but when you look at the range of people, it is not just politicians who push the tribal rhetoric. And that's why when you hear us talking about it, we say bad actors.
Yeah.
We don't say political actors, because there's a range of various people who benefit from this. The idea of tribalism, what it does is that it enables control. And so when we look at it, it's that idea of this group of people have a leader who tells them what to do, who we need to follow, who we need to work with together with to get what we need. When you look at actually how, if I give the example of political leaders do it, when it comes to being able to acquire power and resources, they use that to control the population. When they're doing it collaboratively, they become tribeless. Please note.
Yes.
When they want to acquire power and resources, they become tribeless. And so it means that when we do have something that unites us together, something that we all strongly believe in the long term, we can fight that aggressively.
All right, Chage, give us some juice.
Oh, thank you so much. For me, I hardly agree with my brother here because I think tribal politics is a game of power being played to Kenyans. And I'm giving you an example. I was given an old man, may he rest in peace, Raila Amolo Odinga, one who sat down with him. I asked him, where did the animosity from the Kikuyus and the Luos came from? And he gave me a story in 1953-54, where the British killed a Luo politician called Ofafa, who is named after Jericho Ofafa. And he told me the British killed Ofafa. Then at night, they dropped leaflets telling the Luos that the Kikuyu Mau-Maus have killed Ofafa so that they can retaliate. Jaramogi had to come at night to Nairobi to tell the Luos that it is not the Kikuyu Mau-Mau who killed Ofafa, it is the British, and they wanted to bring a wedge between the two. Ask yourself, let's take a real example, like the last election, how the regions voted. Let's go to Western Kenya. Western Kenya, we had a Bungoma County, which voted almost 60 to 70% William Samoei Ruto. But we had the neighboring county, Kakamega, which voted the opposite. 60 to 7% they voted Raila, and 30% they voted William Ruto. What happened? They're the same tribe. These are Luya community, but they are neighbors. They are voting different. Why? Are they not one tribe? They are. But the reason is, if you look at the Luya nation, the Western region, they lack one thing that can whip the tribal emotion, a tribal kingpin. A tribal kingpin, that is our own misdoing as a nation. Because the researcher has said very well here, that at times we have seen a peak, a rising of tribal animosity in this country. It's when a person like former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua was impeached. We saw it rising. When Raila Amolo Odinga, they had a handshake with Ruto, we saw it rising. So you can see there is a pattern that is rising. And this pattern is just not rising anyhowly. It is rising when certain individuals in a community are doing something. There are people who call shots on behalf of their community. This is a creation because if you look at 2007, my sister was talking about, the two major communities who are at loggerheads in Rift Valley, where I came from, and I was affected by post-election violence, were the Kikuyus and the Kalenjins. But what happened in 2013? Two individuals went to Afraha Stadium, they greeted each other and said, let there be peace. And up to now, we have peace in that region. What happened to the tribal animosity between the two? Because of these two individuals who whipped their leaders that I'm the one who will be making the decisions on all of you. So if I'm not satisfied with a certain decision or this government is not good to me, then I'll come to Nwambie, tunamalizwa. If I come to this city right now, niende Gikomba as a politician, because I am, niseme, I don't even add anything, niseme, sisi tumemalizwa. We are being finished. And I don't add anything else. We'll have our vernacular stations, where I come from, I don't want to mention them, trying to twist the words. Tunamalizwa na nani, and they will not be asking tunamalizwa as a community or a business people or as advocates or as bankers.
Or football players.
Tunamalizwa, exactly. Yeah. It will be tunamalizwa is because I'm a Kikuyu, so all other Kikuyus are being finished. Yesterday there is an artist who died. a famous artist. May God rest her soul. And you could see even in such scenarios, some politicians trying to twist the words. We told you, tunamalizwa. So you are, cancer finishing Kikuyus. Because the fodder for politicians and the way they can only be voted in without ideologies is the tribal. So the issue of saying that's who we are, it's not who we are. We are being created, engineered to be that way so that they can have the power and they can play with us. And that's the reason you are seeing in 2024, we had a Gen Z movement that was tribeless because the illiteracy that people had is coming to an end. You have asked a question here, who have been employed on the basis of the tribe, because of your tribe, you earned a position. There is none. They're coming to understand that this is a game being played. Magufuli, may he rest his soul, former president of Tanzania, he said that Kenya is one of the greatest countries. Only if we can do away with tribalism, because it's being created.
Shege,
and we can do away with it. Yes, thank you. Yes.
Because I hear what you're saying.
Yes.
And you are saying that politicians use politics to engineer us into and to rage bait us and all into being tribal. And so we are that gullible. And then at the same time you say, when it comes to positives, it's not the politicians that we give credit, we give ourselves credit. You know, we organized last year, we did this and the other. Are we gullible or are we not gullible?
We are gullible.
So we are gullible enough that we can be mobilized by politicians very easily, just by somebody coming and saying tunamalizwa and we fall for it. But we're also strong enough to mobilize and say atumalizwi, atupangwi, and we're okay.
You see, that's what I'm saying. Among the issues we are fighting with, the level of illiteracy. Because if you see the Gen Zs who are doing the tribeless generation, if you see the people who are coming with the hashtags, we are all Kikuyus, they are the people who are rising above that mediocrity because you are able to think and ask yourself, tunamalizwa. Now that you are not in position of power, you have realized all of a sudden, tunamalizwa. But how have I benefited myself when you are in the position of power? Right now that you are not tunamalizwa. When do you memalizwa? You yourself as a person, not us as the community, because you are suffering the same way as people.
All right. Yamisa, where's the microphone here? Please bring it to the front. Hanifa, sorry.
I think there's something we need to debunk, that we are not our parents. The older generation, this and that. We are actually worse than our parents. At some point, they can be excused. We have the exposure. We've gone to school, good schools. We've gone to university. We have countless shows, podcasts, books at our disposal. What excuse does a young person have to be tribal in this era? You don't have any excuse. And you asked the question of whether all Gen Zs are tribeless. They're not. A good number of young people are extremely tribal and in a very nasty way. Maybe it's because I'm a victim too. Going back to the online conversation, it's true most of the tribal rhetoric are engineered by politicians. And one mistake we make is thinking politicians are stupid. They will come on stage in rallies, in churches, say primitive things to rage bait you. And Kenyans, I'm sorry for a lack of a better word, have this allegiance to losers. That's, I don't know. Yeah. So we are
That's a very good line.
Yeah.
Our allegiance to stupidity is legendary.
Yes, so I'm a victim. People who we sang the tribeless songs with, people who we freed with hashtags, with our voices, with our banners on the streets, are calling me refugees and telling me to go back to Somalia. They are young people. They are people we were with last year. So if we want to solve this problem, we need to be realistic, and recognize that the problem is there. Young people are tribal as well, and it's really bad. it breaks my heart, honestly, but we will get there. So,
let me ask you a question, Hanifa. Very much understanding and in communion with your experience, and it's literally diabolical that anyone would misrepresent you in any way after the work you've done. Have you experienced a group of Kenyans that have maintained a tribeless essential, and is there any way that can be taken advantage of to escalate a tribeless agenda?
Yes, one thing about the online space is that the algorithm thrives on rage. You see, a post about unity will not get as much likes and reposts compared to a post about tribalism. That's one thing we're struggling with online. We need to I don't know how we can come together, you know, and kill this conversation online and take back our space and own our narrative. But I think I would say something positive too. In all my 4 years of leveraging my social media platform, it's been really nice, I would say. I have never met such beautiful strangers and how people have unified. I am a lived example of what we can do when we have unity. From how we fundraise for the floods of 1 million and the 31 million Kenyan shillings. And I just recently came online and told people, you guys, there's this initiative of fundraising for sponsoring a kit for school in the Korokocho slums. And in an hour, we had over 30 sponsors coming out to take 2 or 1 kits. We have so much power and potential, a lot, and I wish we can really capitalize on it. We can go very far. Kenyans are amazing and beautiful people, honestly. We just need to get a hold of this. Thank you.
All right, Hamisa.
I'm having the last word. So, okay, I think I'll start by addressing the issue of illiteracy, as we'd call it. I think I look at it more of lack of political education. Like, young people in Kenya are educated, right? But when it comes to our politics, we're very ignorant about what's going on. In fact, that's why, as Hanifa said, politicians are not stupid, but young people in Kenya tend to think that politicians are actually stupid, which is dangerous, So I think we need a lot of political education and civic education so that we understand exactly what's going on in our country. I think civic education has been watered down in this country. I don't know if children still do civics. So that there's even when it comes to like the tribal conversations, there's a lot of misunderstanding around tribal conversations. And I think we need to relook our education if we're going to make any sensible changes. That said, I think, let me go back to the conversation on political parties and ideologies and the tribal rhetoric. And I think the reason why our politics is so tribal is because our political parties are not formed on ideologies. They are formed as a vehicle to carry an individual to the ballot, and then, that's over. The coalitions that are formed are meant to just, carry this particular popular person with the popular slogans, a TB here and I don't know what there, all the way to the ballot, and then after that, there's nothing we stand for, right? So that's why I think I'll say this again. We need to find an ideology that we can all relate with. And if you ask me, I'd still go back to the Constitution. Why? Because, in fact, let me just read for you a word from the Holy Book, the Constitution of Kenya. That is Article 91 of our Constitution. Okay, I'm not very good at these things, so I might say I don't know what is an article and what is a nini, but this is in the book. It is in the Holy Book of the country. Article 91. This is, I think, this is like part 3, and then there is number 1 and number 2. So, or number 2, the first part, part A says, a political party shall not, A, be founded on a religious, linguistic, racial, ethnic, gender or regional basis, or seek to engage in advocacy of hatred of any such basis. This is in our constitution. But when you look at the way our political parties are formed and the way our political parties are run, they are ethnic-based and they are regional-based. As much as we'd argue that, a political party has to have offices in I don't know how many counties, in the name of representation, we can all see what they do when it comes to political parties. The whole tribal kingpins, you have to align with people from Murima, and you have to align with people from, let's say, this part of Nyanza, or else, if you're a Kalenjin, you have to align with the Kalenjin politicians. That is against our constitution. And if we were serious about following what our constitution says about political parties, we wouldn't be here in the first place. So what am I saying? When it comes to political ideologies, I ask again, what is wrong with us rallying behind our Katiba? We can take Katiba as our ideology and decide this is what we are going after. Yeah. Because this is the book that is supposed to guide us as a country. This is the one thing that we can all identify with. Yeah? If you feel like your problems are not addressed in this document, we can go back to the drawing board and look at it and see what we can adjust. Otherwise, we'll just keep going round and round over swooning over people standing in front of Prados and yelling nonsense at us and throwing chapati at us, So let me not say anything further. I might end up in jail.
There's a chom.
When we look at let me look at what happened when the young people came and rallied when they're being divided along ethnic lines. They said we are all Kikuyus, yeah, and it was a good moment to cite what you said. The point is also we can reject tribalism, yeah. Because it's important to see, well, how can we overcome? Because the question on this show is, can we? Yeah? And we need to answer that. We can reject it wholesale. Because if you reject it, politics is like economics. Willing buyer, willing seller. It's demand. If there's demand, and there's a seller. So if we reject it, they will not participate in such nonsense. You understand? If we raise the bar, because it has been shown if we raise the bar slightly higher, they also, as politicians, raise the bar also. So it is us born as a people. It starts with us because it's so easy to blame them, yet we are the audience. We are the audience. So for me, what is important is actually for us as a people, as a country, to actually did what happened a few months ago when we rejected that nonsense. It was wholesale. We said, no, we will not be allowed to be divided. Young people refuse to be divided along ethnic lines. Yeah. I
think the problem is this, Danvers. Yes. And this gentleman quoted it. Said the problem with our politics really is not that the politicians are different. It's us.
Exactly.
And that's the problem. So we need to address us. That we have this need to feel identity as the way only governance can work. And so that, I think, is what we need to address us.
And that
because
is why,
we have this need.
You see, that's why I say the first thing we need to admit is we have a problem. Because we always blame the politicians. And that's why I said earlier, we genuinely, intrinsically are tribal. We have a propensity towards that. We have a proclivity towards that.
Yep.
Now, but also what I was trying to say is we're not irredeemable also, yeah? It's not as we are hopeless completely, yeah? We've shown glimmers of hope here and there. So for me, we can ride on that, because the question actually was given to Hanifa, is there people we can actually, the people who are still remaining to be tribeless. And tribeless, let me not use the word tribe, because that's an extreme pendulum swing, yeah? Because human beings have this idea of swimming from one extreme to the other. And I know the gist, which is good, but I think for us is the identity, because we cannot deny the fact that we have. So the question is, who we need to address is who we are as people, because who we are as a people is fundamental to address everything else that comes, because we've never really addressed the issue of identity as Kenyans, because that's the psyche of our country. What is the psyche of Kenyans? The psyche of our soul. What is our soul as a Kenyan? Right. You understand? Because when that is addressed, even fundamental problems beyond ethnicity and tribalism will be addressed, because we have serious issues as a country, which it is us as a people which we need to rise up. So for me, I see a glimmer of hope. What I'm saying is there's a glimmer of hope that we can actually overcome it. Yeah, we can actually overcome it. We've done it in the past. We've shown it. We need to be consistent now. Yeah, it's not just let it just be a one-off. Yeah. Let it be very consistent. Because if we do that, then these politicians will not drive us to that place. Because I've been in situations where I have seen people, politicians read their mood as like, okay, I can't say this and I can't say this because they know to be utterly rejected. So for us as a people, as Kenyans who are listening to me, we have to reject it. Now, let me just throw this as a challenge to show you how deeply it's entrenched in that. The easiest way to know our ethnic groups is to by our last names, right? Yeah, that it is our last name. That's why you ask jina yako ni gani
ya nyumbani.
Ya nyumbani. Yeah. So let me challenge first of all Kenya's then institutions, because the government for a long time also perpetuated tribalism unknowingly by policy and law. Okay, so let's start by Kenyans beyond law. I dare challenge Kenyans to name their children a name that is not their ethnic group or the opposite. Yeah. Because that's how we started resolving these issues. Actually, the opposite.
I think that's why we don't know what's happening.
No, you don't know. Because, no, actually to shock the nation psyche, because we kept on entrenching that. Secondly, think about it. Kila mtu ako na ID hapa, si ndio? People have IDs here. What does your ID say?
Nyuma ID.
Nyuma ID nasema nini? Huh?
Nyumbani.
You see, by policy and law, even government, we perpetuate that ethnicity. Because in other countries, your ID is your ID. It doesn't say your ethnic tribe, where you come from. It just says your name and your address.
But Danvers, our IDs don't say tribe. They don't.
It's a place of birth.
No. It doesn't say tribe, but
say your location.
It's implicit. No, there it's implicit.
Now,
because,
if you choose to look at location.
No, Eric, let me ask you something. In most places in the world, your ID just says your name and your address. What is so hard is saying, this is my name, this is my address, I live in this place. Why does it have to? I always emphasize that, you see, the issue is
district division.
District division, location and chief, the sublocation. Yeah? I mean, that is really unnecessary.
African address.
That's address.
No, it's colonial. No. This is a colonial heritage which you need to get it from. Because your ID should just give you who you are right now, and I can trace you. Simple as that.
Okay.
So there's policy and law which you need to address. And
have you told government this because you're in government?
Okay. Yeah, I'm saying that personally because I am. Yes.
All right.
I think I just wanted to challenge what you were saying a little bit, because I come from West Pokot. My ID says, Kapenguria, Kishaunet, Lite. Oye, nimesema sana msiende kwetu. Kuenda kuharass my family. But I'm not a Pokot. My mom is a Sabaot, my dad is a Kisii. I was born and raised in Pokot. If you ask me that question of, for instance, you ask me what's my name, I'll tell you Nyamisa Chelagat, and now you want to know where do I come from exactly, because between these two, then I tell you Pokot, then you immediately assume I'm a Pokot, So there is, I think the problem with our IDs is we don't have a proper address system, like home address system. So how do you trace someone back to maybe their people? And when I say their people, not necessarily your tribe, because if you need to trace my people, you'd easily think you need to go to Kisii. My people are not in Kisii. Okay, some of them are in Kisii before they... But a majority of them would not be in Kisii, you get me? So maybe that I would disagree with you a little bit.
Why they go there? Yes.
Yes, for sure.
Yes, Chage, help us to unwind from these notes we are typing.
Okay, mine.
Yes.
I'm trying to debunk the myth that we are the problem. Because look at a place like Nyanza, Kisumu town. Who is the MP? He's from Asian origin. Shabil somebody. Shakil.
Yes.
Look at a person like Junet. Maybe come from where Hanifa comes from. But he was voted as an MP in that region, and nobody told him to go back to Somalia. Look at a place like Eldoret. The former Keses MP from the Asian community was called Swap Mishra. He was voted. But who said Mishra should not be voted again, despite maybe having performed? It is the same person, Kingpin. You look at our politics, you try to say we are the problem, but the same people are voting even people of different races. They are even superseding the ethnicity and going to the races. Because there is a person who comes and tells them, I want you to vote a certain person. And the people vote that person. So if our leaders, the leaders we are talking about, if we can stop giving the fodder of the tribalism or something. And I want to tell Kenyans this, that even in 2022, the president who is on the seat was not voted merely on the tribal arithmetics. He came up with an ideology, though it was a wrong ideology, a conmanship ideology, but he came up with an ideology all the same, of bottom-up. The region that used to vote the opposition, Azimio, Raila Amolo Odinga, to 90% in Coast Province, they voted the current president 40% because of that specific ideology. So if you look at all the factors that made the current president to be voted, yes, there was tribal arithmetics, but at the same time, he sold an ideology. Though it was a wrong ideology, but he sold an ideology. And even 2027, you will see, we are coming out of this dragon of tribalism. In 2027, a person who will win will have to sell an ideology. Though we'll have some flavors, ya ukabila kidogo, but an ideology will play a very important role. And that's why you saw in 2022, over 8 million Kenyans, they did not come out to vote despite of the tribes because they could not see the right candidate to vote on ideologies. We are hoping 2027 will be a turning point, and I'm very positive about it.
So you really believe?
Yes.
I mean, and accept your thesis. Yes. You're hopeful that, however, you look at that electoral map, that 90% of it was based out of what? Issue-based. What is it? 90%, 10%, and the rest was the identity politics.
No, 40%.
40%.
It was an ideological politics, because I look at Mombasa, a place that we expect. I was in Azimio. I was expecting Azimio to get over 90% just to...
Why?
Because it is a region where the kingpins of that region, Akina Joho, everybody, they were supporting Raila. But we got 60%. Ruto got 40% because he sold an ideology, populism of us versus them, hustlers versus dynasties. And it was good. A lot of people bought it. In 2027, a person will come with an ideology and he will win election.
Okay.
Just 30 seconds.
30 seconds, yes.
Let me debunk his notion that parents should stop naming their children tribal names.
Yes.
Socratic wisdom postulates that the knowledge of thyself is the beginning of wisdom.
Say that again. Say that again. Please, yeah.
Socratic wisdom.
Socratic wisdom, yes.
Postulates that knowledge of thyself is the beginning of wisdom. So assuming...
In English?
In
English?
Yes?
Repeat the same in English now, so that...
Socratic wisdom postulates that a person who knows himself or herself is wise, simply put. But assuming...
But that is not English.
Yeah?
Please go ahead.
Okay, so assuming a person who is too low like me and you call me Moses Peterson, just to avoid tribe, and then I go to Nairobi, people say, these people just say this low, even if you're riding the tribe. So let us embrace our identity. Our identity should not be a problem. The problem is the narrative. We should change. We should have a paradigm shift. Yes, but you are mocking my English. We had the greatest intellectual of all times in Africa, Professor Ngugi wa Thiong'o.
Yes.
He had a deep accent.
Yes.
But we adore him and we revere him.
I
should follow suit.
I'm trying to get the Socratic wisdom that postulates. So I'm trying to understand what that means.
I simplify.
Yes.
But the region I come from, English is our mother tongue. So don't tell me to speak basic English. Anyway, let me give to another person, but identity is important.
And I agree. It makes a good point. We'll come back to you for some Socratic wisdom afterwards.
Yes.
So give the mic to the back. Now 30 seconds each as we start to wind down. So please say your name. Very quickly stand up, say your name, and give us some Socratic wisdom.
Okay, my name is Novi Karkonyi. I'm coming from Busia, Teso South. Okay, the narrative of tribal ethnicity, when coming to electioneering year, you find politician goes to the constituency and urge the members to rally upon certain kingpin so that their interest could be heard. So when dealing with such a thing, we must consider also these politicians. We must consider how these politicians, who in every electioneering year, they come to the members and telling them to rally behind a certain politician so that their interest, tribalic interest, must be heard.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. I have a moment for one person, 30 seconds before I wind down this thing. Please stand up.
Okay, thank you. My name is Patrick Mwezi, a Kenyan from Kitui County, Mwingi West. Let me start with the...
You finish. I start. 30 seconds.
Okay, I believe every Kenyan has a right and a responsibility to build a good nation. As I stand here, I urge all Kenyans as we are going to approach 2027 general elections. Let's be focused and rise against this tribal politics. As we all know that, let's say, for example, in Nairobi County, the history of Nairobi County, we had Governor Kidero, that is 2013. We also had Governor Sonko, who ruled for around 1 year, 2 years, was chased away. We had Kanamu, who was appointed by the president of the day. And again, now we have the current governor, Sakaja, who was voted due to the slogan of bottom up. And you can see the state of Nairobi. Yeah. You know that slogan, the way it was, eh? So we all know that, and now we have candidates who are looking for that position. But the reason, the point I want to raise is this: where tribal is coming in, you find when the governor of Nairobi is appointed, they have to choose between two communities to be their running mate. It's either they come from Kamba or Mount Kenya. That is the tribal politics which is happening here in Nairobi. Then we go to the national politics. You just try to take from the president. For you to fight for president, you have to align yourself from someone from Mount Kenya or someone from Western for you to become a president. Is that fair? That cannot be fair. So I urge you Kenyans, and my opinion concerning this issue of tribalism and ethnicity, let's all come together and choose all the MPs from the parliament.
All right.
We can vote them outside.
Yes.
We vote for new people. Okay. And if it's electing president, let's have an independent president, without any political party. That will do away with these things of appointing people from their favorite places.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Unfortunately, we have to keep on time.
Democracy.
Okay. This side, 30 seconds. I hope you have something that will shatter this room. Where's the microphone? Please give the microphone to the gentleman. Yes. Yes.
Thank you. My name is Kevin Kore from Elgeyo Marakwet, Ebobut Forest. Allow me to say this. As I was coming here, one of my sisters here, while I was connecting, asked me if I was Oria. And I was happy because... not you.
Not any of them.
We are really trying to criticize tribalism, but when it comes to voting, we as the agencies, we have not registered as voters. That's the key factor that will determine the next leadership that we want. I have a case whereby a leader transported about 200 Gen Zs from Nairobi to go and register as voters in his region, so that in the next general elections he will be re-elected. And we are here saying that we as Gen Zs, we are tribeless, we are
partyless, leaderless.
We are so ukipewa kitu kidogo ndo wanasema tuta. Shame on you.
Shame on you.
He just brought the house down.
You brought the house down. I think it will be wrong. It will be unconstitutional.
Okay, thank you.
Oh my.
My name is Paul Nyongesa. I come from Sirisia constituency. It's in Bungoma County. Yes, I'm not tribeless. I have a tribe. I'm a Kenyan, but from Luhya land. Yeah, so the seeds of tribalism were first sowed in Kenya towards independence. Towards that period, we find that the Mau Mau fighters mostly came from Central region. So once we got our independence, our forefathers, they concentrated more development in Central region. That's why the narrative that is equally popular, where I come from, is that if you're not in power, if you're not in power as a people, you not get development. So I think it will take another generation, I think, is it 8 years or thereabout, from the time we got an independence, 1963, to get people thinking in another way. Because the so-called kingpins that we had since independence, they were the ones that sow seeds of toxic tribalism among our people, such that they were the ones saying that we should go with this person, let's vote this person because of this tribe. And come in the coming years, personally as a youth leader, I'm running a movement called Sirisia Tunavyoitaka. In Sirisia constituency, we have so many tribes, but come in the coming years, elective years, I'm rallying youths to elect leaders based on their ideologies rather than their tribe. So as youth, we should advocate for quality rather than quantity. In this way, I mean, a leader should be chosen based on merit and not the amount of money they have, that is quantity, or the number of years they have, or the number of experience in whatever fields they have. So we should base on quality rather than quantity. Thank you.
Very good point. And I think that guy is a fixer. You will come to fixing the nation with that idea and what you're doing in Sirisia. Let's close it. Our director has told us, in fact, back in studio, they are shutting us down, so we've got to close at this point. I said I'm going to come back on a point. There's a show on Netflix now called Death by Lightning. It's about a president of America in 1881 called James Garfield. He served since March 1881 till September 1881 when he was killed by a guy called Getau. Well,
Getau.
Yeah.
Yes.
Getau. And that's not the point. The point is, around that time in America, there was a push and pull of a system that had been there for a long time. And if you listen to it, you may think we're talking about Kenya, the spoils system. The winner of an election goes ahead to give government jobs to the people who supported him to win the election. And people from the region that supported him to win an election get the government jobs. Does that sound familiar? It was 1881, they were trying to fight it in America. And somehow they claim that they succeeded. Now, if you look at our system in Kenya, and what we are talking about today, the tribalism, the tribal kingpin, and so on and so forth, the BBI conversation of expanding the executive so that, more tribes can come in. It's all about getting people in so that they can feel that they are represented. How do we think about restructuring that altogether so that our civil service is not about where you come from, who you are, but it's about merit? Now, how do we shift this whole idea of tribalism? Dr. Danvas Makori told us about, for example, Zambia, where the campaign around the political party, it's around political parties and what the political parties are pushing. And it's not about the tribe. So how about then we get political parties in this country? Because we don't have political parties. We have special purpose vehicles formed around individuals for elections. That's what we do have. And some laws that just come to try and mollify that. How about promoting fair representation of all communities in government? That's in our law. But if we deal with our spoil system and remove our spoil system and make sure that it's merit that gets you into office, so that when people hear that you work for the NCIC, they don't ask you, what's your name? Ah, okay. The person who was a minister at that point was, you know? Invest in civic education and national identity building, encourage a lot of cooperation among tribes, monitor and regulate social media, hate and all, and we have a commission for that, and to promote all this that we're talking about, and ensure regions are not locked into single ethnic dominance, but also just see how we can expand that and see that communities that live in a certain region are all represented. And it's not about the clan or the tribe that is there. So there's a lot that can be done to deal with the issue of ethnic politicization in Kenya. We have to turn our diversity into a shared national identity and to think about our issue-based politics. We have to overcome tribal politics by fully eliminating what we have in terms of our thinking. The youth have shown us they are thinking as Kenyans. Then they have quickly retreated to thinking as tribes when it suits them. But if we just continue that momentum of that we are Kenyan, we could do it. Shage Wamaju says that in 2027 we are actually going to see more issue-based politics. Danvas Makori tells us that the NCIC conducted a survey on the 2022 election and so that it was more issue-based than tribal-based. So there is hope. We are on the path. Can we stick to that path? That is the last word. Thank you very much for watching tonight.